morning everyone. Myself Dr. Hanuman Prasad Pandiri. I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering IARE, which is located at Dundigal. The topic that I am going to present in today's session is from overall gender sensitization, and the name of the topic is Question Bank on Module 4. I have already discussed Question Bank on Module 1, Question Bank on Module 2, Question Bank on Module 3. In today's session, I am going to discuss Question Bank on Module 4. Okay? And the title of Module 4, Gender-Based Violence. Okay? Let's look at the contents as a part of the Question Bank on Module 4. Here, contents are nothing but what are the questions that are covered in Module 4. Okay? The questions are taken as contents here. The first one is define the concept of violence with examples. Second one, describe the types of gender-based violence with daily life examples. Third one, demonstrate the gender-based violence from a human rights perspective. Fourth one, say no to sexual harassment. Justify it towards gender equal society. Fifth one, discuss the domestic violence in detail. What are the prevention measures that you follow in preventing it? Sixth one, summarize the film When Women Unite in terms of gender sensitization. Seventh one, outline the concept of eve teasing and its prevention methods to achieve gender equality. Eighth one, elaborate the caste phase of violence and its role in gender disparity. Ninth one, explain sexual violence and its role in the society towards gender inequality. How can you prevent it? And the 10th one and the last one, explain the concept of female genital mutilation, FGM. Okay, and finally, references. Okay, let's look at each and every question. How do you address it and how do you answer it in detail? The first question is define the concept of violence with examples. So here, what do you mean by violence? Violence is nothing but, in this context, gender-based violence. You can shortly write it as GBV. Okay, so that is the meaning of violence in this case. So gender-based violence is the violence directed against a person because of that person's gender, or violence that affects persons of a particular gender disproportionately. What is gender-based violence? Gender-based violence, GBV, is a violence directed against a person because of that person's gender, his or her gender. The person may be male or female, okay, his or her gender. Or violence that affects persons of a particular gender disproportionately. This one I explained already during the module lectures. So now also I am just briefing it to get clarity of answering this or addressing this question. Okay. And gender-based violence can also be defined as acts or threats of sexual, physical, psychological violence happening around us. Okay, gender-based violence can also be defined as acts or threats of sexual, physical and psychological violence happening around us. Next, gender-based violence is due to gender norms and stereotypes. Due to what? GBV is due to gender norms and their stereotypes. Okay. Gender-based violence can include, what are the things that are included in GBV or gender-based violence? So gender based violence can include verbal abuse, bullying, sexual abuse, harassment, and other types of violence. You know very well what is verbal abuse? By using your mouth. If you are scolding someone by using your mouth, then it is considered as verbal abuse. Bullying means unnecessarily blaming someone. Sexual abuse, abusing in a sexual way. Harassment, any kind of harassment, sexual harassment especially. Okay. And other types of violence. Any other kind of violence is considered in gender based violence. Any other kind of violence based on the gender is called gender based violence. Okay. So now let's see the continuation to address more about this question. Gender based violence is defined as any act of gender based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, including threats of violence, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or private life. The same thing I explained during the module lectures. Now, the gender based violence is fueled in large part by inequitable gender norms. Why the gender based violence is occurring? In large part. It is occurring in large part. What is the reason behind that? It is due to inequitable gender norms, due to gender inequality, due to gender inequality, or it is also called gender disparity. Gender disparity. Okay. So that is the reason why gender based violence is happening around us. Okay. It can affect people at different points in their lives and ranges from intimate partner violence to sexual coercion and abuse to child marriage. Okay. It can range from intimate partner violence. Okay. Means it is considered domestic violence. It is one of the forms of domestic violence. To sexual coercion and abuse to child marriage, early marriages. Okay. So up to this level, this gender based violence is happening around us. Okay. So one should achieve gender equality to get rid of all these kinds of gender based violence. Okay. So one must think in this direction. I hope you understood what is violence with examples. Okay. So now you can answer this question well if it is asked in the examination or if you face this in the interviews. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Second one. Describe the types of gender based violence with examples. This is question number 2. Describe the types of gender based violence, GBV, with examples. So gender based violence is classified on the basis of type of violence. Based on the type of violence, GBV is classified. Gender based violence is classified based on type of violence. So sexual abuse, this is one of the gender based violences. Sexual exploitation, this is also one of the forms of GBV. Forced early marriage, obviously this is one of the forms of GBV. Domestic violence, same, one of the forms of GBV. Marital rape, it is also one of the forms of gender based violence. Human trafficking, of course it is the one of the forms of GBV. And female genital mutilation, it is referred as FGM shortly. Okay, this is also one of the forms or types of GBV, gender based violence. Okay, so now we will see in detail sexual abuse. It is nothing but molestation, or it is abusive sexual behavior. It is abusive sexual behavior. Sexual abuse is nothing but abusive sexual behavior by one person upon another. By one person upon another. In general, it is between opposite genders. Between opposite genders. In general. Yes? Yeah. So, sexual exploitation. This is also one of the forms of GBV, right? Sexual exploitation involves a person profiting from the use of another person's body in a sexual manner in order to benefit financially or otherwise. So, sexual exploitation involves a person profiting from the use of another person's body in a sexual manner in order to benefit financially or otherwise. Okay. And next one is forced marriage. Forced marriage is a marriage in which one or both parties have not personally expressed their full and free consent to the union. Here union means what? Marriage. Okay. One or more parties or one or both parties have not personally expressed their full and free consent to the marriage. Example, child marriages. Most of the child marriages or all the child marriages happen like that only. Forced marriages. All the child marriages are forced marriages. Of course. Right? Because they don't have any maturity. In that age itself they go for marriage. Then it is obviously forced marriage. They don't know anything. So they don't have that awareness to go for marriage or not. So they don't have any kind of awareness. So obviously child marriages are forced marriages. Okay. Next, marital rape, it is also called spousal rape, is the act of sexual intercourse with one's spouse without the spouse's consent. Means the intercourse with one's wife, own wife. Okay. So without her consent is considered as marital rape or spousal rape. Okay. So even it is your wife, then also you have to take her consent before having intercourse. So that kind of without consent, if you are going for sexual intercourse, then that is considered as marital rape or spousal rape. And human trafficking. Human trafficking is a serious crime that abuses people's fundamental rights and dignity. What is human trafficking? It is a serious crime that causes people's fundamental rights and dignity. Human trafficking is a serious crime that abuses people's fundamental rights and people's dignity. Okay. So now let's move on to the next question. Demonstrate, this is question number 3. Demonstrate the gender-based violence GBV from human rights perspective. According to human rights perspective, you have to demonstrate gender-based violence. So according to human rights perspective, what is the first thing you have to keep in mind? Gender equality or gender parity. Gender parity is nothing but both the genders, means men and women, are treated equally in all respects. Okay, like decision making and like higher education freedom and like acceptance for marriage and okay. So gender equality is the first criteria with respect to human rights perspective. So you should not, so that is how gender based violence is happening, because one is not following this gender parity. People are treating gender disparity. People are treating both the genders are not equal. Okay, so that is the main reason why gender based violence is happening around us. Okay, please keep it in mind. So according to human rights perspective, treating both the genders as unequal or treating gender parity as wrong, means as incorrect, means those who are following the gender inequality or gender disparity strategy go for the gender based violence, or those who do not have awareness on the gender equality go for the gender based violence. Okay, so if somebody is black or white, too much white, then they used to comment, so that is also abusing gender based violence, obviously. Okay, if some person's if some lady's husband is died and she is doing self employment, then people will comment, so that is also abuse. Okay, so these are all coming under gender based violence. But with respect to human rights perspective, gender equality is the issue. People are not awareing. That is why gender based violence is happening around us. And the second point that you have to understand is not having well education or matureness. Not having well education or maturedness. Maturedness in the society aspects. Okay, so this is also one of the reason, according to human rights perspective, to go for or to commit for gender based violence. Okay, I hope you understood, and then you can elaborate more by following the lecture that I have delivered in the module 4. Okay, so I hope you understood how to address this question and how to answer thoroughly, and you can answer this question well if it is asked in the exam, or you can face this when it is asked in the interviews. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Say no to sexual harassment. Justify it towards gender equal society. So this is question number 4. So one has to say no to sexual harassment. Now you have to justify the statement towards gender equality or gender equal society. So GBV, gender based violence. GBV, okay, is having lot of forms or lot of several types. So one of the forms or types is sexual harassment, right? Sexual harassment, right? So if anybody is going for GBV, what does it mean? It means that people are treating gender as unequal, or people are treating gender disparity. Okay, because of their unawareness, lack of awareness, or lack of higher education or maturity in the society aspects, right? So now, if anyone is educating others or self-educated, first of all, if anyone is self-educated and educating others, in order to educate others, he or she has to be get self-educated. Then she or he will proudly educate others such that say no to sexual harassment. So whenever you are announcing or whenever you are doing publicity that say no to sexual harassment, what does it mean? It means that you are trying hard to achieve gender equality. Means say no to sexual harassment, that means say no to gender based violence, that means say yes to gender equality. So that is how say no to sexual harassment contributes towards gender equal society. Okay, say no to sexual harassment is nothing but say no to gender based violence, any kind of violence. Okay, Say no to gender based violence means say no to gender disparity or gender inequality. That means say yes to gender equality. Say yes to gender equality or gender parity. Okay, so that is how it will contribute towards gender equal society. Towards gender equal society. Okay, I hope you understood and you can elaborate more based on this. And now you can answer this question well if it is asked in the examination, or if you face it in the interviews, you can thoroughly or confidently answer it, address it. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. Question number 5. Discuss the domestic violence in detail. What are the prevention measures that you follow in preventing it? So what you have to discuss here? Domestic violence. What do you mean by domestic violence? It is also one of the forms of or one of the types of gender based violence. Okay, occurring especially at home, occurring especially at own home. Okay, so in the home itself people face violence, that is called domestic violence. Means either by family members like parents or brothers, sisters or cousins, okay, or anybody can do the violence at the home itself. So that kind of violence is considered as domestic violence. Okay, by the own relatives, it may be by the relatives, it may be by the parents, it may be by the sisters, brothers, cousins, or any long distance relatives. Okay, so all this is considered in domestic violence, or it may be by the husband, means it may be by the partner, intimate partner violence. Just previously I discussed it, right? Intimate partner violence, okay, is also one of the domestic violence examples. What are the prevention measures that you follow in preventing it? So the prevention measures that you mainly have to follow are: number 1, what are the prevention measures? These are: first one must have awareness on the gender equal society. Okay, awareness on gender equal society. And second one, awareness on the laws if you violate the rules of the gender equal society. Okay, educate the laws. You have to educate the laws related to violation of this kind of gender equal society, gender equality. Okay, so awareness on gender equal education, gender equal society, and educate the laws related to violation of gender equality. Means one must have awareness on the gender issues. Okay, so that the violation, the gender based violence, especially domestic violence, can be prevented. And one must know or one must aware the rules or laws if he or she violate the rules of gender equality. Okay, so one must and should thing is awareness on gender issues. What are the gender issues that are currently going in the society, and what are the gender issues that may be faced by various types of gender, this type of awareness must be there to prevent domestic violence. And then only if you are if you have awareness, then only you can educate others, those who are illiterate or those who are uneducated, right? So that is how, by educating others and by having self-awareness and by having well maturedness through proper education and through proper parenting guidelines, you can prevent domestic violence. Okay, so these are the prevention measures that one has to follow. Okay, I hope you understood. Now you can answer this question well if it is asked in the examination, and also you can face it thoroughly, confidently, and if it is asked in the interviews. Okay. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 6. Summarize the film When Women Unite in terms of gender sensitization. So what is gender sensitization? Giving awareness on gender equality in the society is called gender sensitization. Okay. Making awareness on gender equality is called gender sensitization. Okay. So now, how do you summarize the film When Women Unite in terms of gender sensitization? So I have discussed about this When Women Unite film in the module lectures. So this film is about anti-liquor movement. Okay, anti-liquor movement that was conducted by the women of the particular village in the Nellore district in the past 2000s. Okay, so what happened at that village in Nellore district? The water used to be supplied twice in a day. Water supply twice in a day, if you remember very well. Water supply twice in a day. Whereas liquor supply is twice, so this is liquor supply. Liquor supply is twice in a day, and water supply once in 2 days, means alternate days. Once in 2 days. So that means this is having more priority in the village, that rural area of Nellore district. Okay, so that is why people are addicted more to the liquor, and they are committing a lot of crimes, a lot of gender-based violence, even to their own family members, in the drowsiness of that negative effect, that liquor. Okay, so that is why all the women unite, and they made a large movement to stop the supply of liquor in that village, and they finally got succeeded in the achieving it. Okay, so you can look at the module lecture for more elaboration, and I hope you understood this well, and you can answer it well if it is asked in the examination, and you can face it confidently if it is asked in the interviews. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. Outline the concept of eve teasing and its prevention methods to achieve gender equality. What is eve teasing? I already told. Eve is the first woman in the world. Eve is the name of first woman. Name of first woman in the world. So teasing woman is considered as eve teasing because she is the first woman in the world. Okay, teasing women or girls. Woman means medium age or middle age. Girls means small age. Okay, young age. So this is considered as eve teasing. Eve teasing. Okay, because it involves teasing of women especially. Women also tease men, but rarely. But nowadays both are getting equal priority. But once upon a time, men tease women in general. Okay, so eve teasing means, so the main disadvantage, the main drawback, may people that the person who committed eve teasing, those who are teasing the girls or women may enjoy. They may be enjoying psychologically. Okay, but what is happening because of that teasing by that particular person? She is getting too much depression. Sometimes she may get a thought to commit suicide. So that is affecting the whole family life significantly. Okay, so it is not just enjoyment, or it is not just psychological happiness. It is affecting the whole family. If she came for the education in that particular city and she is getting victim for eve teasing, then she will be affected in several ways. Like their parents may stop her education. Their parents will not allow her to stay in that city or to go for any other job, to stop that job and to look for other job. They will think that in other job also you may face the same situation. So that is why they will stop to stay for that girl. Okay, and she will be asked, she may be asked to come back to the village, and she may commit suicide because of all those kind of incidents. So lot of issues that will cause even to the whole family complete dissociation, complete spoiling. Whole family can be spoiled because of these incidents. So that is why eve teasing is not just for psychological happiness. Okay, so eve teasing will affect many ways in the society. So that is why one must stop eve teasing. So what are the prevention methods? Through well education, well awareness on the gender issues in the society, through proper education and through proper behavior in the society. So how you will get proper behavior? Through proper parenting. If your parents are making you from childhood onwards, they don't show any gender discrimination. So they have treated, if you have sister or brother, if both are treated equally in the family, then that person will grow from childhood onwards in a gender equal manner. Okay, so then he or she won't commit any kind of this kind of gender based violence. So this is also one of the forms of GBV, gender based violence. So one must have proper education, one must have proper awareness on the gender issues to prevent all these kinds of gender based violence. Especially eve teasing can be prevented. That victim should be, whatever she is talking to you regarding the teasing, you should not discourage her. You should listen to her completely, and you should try to give solution to that problem, not just avoiding it, ignoring it, or you are misunderstanding it. Not just like that. You have to completely listen to her, and you have to show some solution to her through the education, through your proper education, through the awareness on gender issues only. You can prevent the concept of eve teasing. Okay, so if you can prevent eve teasing, then obviously you can achieve gender equality. That means that both the gender are equal in the society. Then this concept will cause gender sensitization. Okay, so that is how you can prevent eve teasing and you can achieve gender equality. So for more elaboration, you can go through the module lecture of module 4. Its title is gender based violence. And now you can answer this question well if it is asked in the examination, or you can face it confidently if it is asked in the interviews. Okay. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 8. Elaborate the caste phase of violence and its role in gender disparity. So, as you know very well, that caste phase of violence. In violence also, people will show the caste feeling. So, whom to violate more? Means one kind of gender-based violence. This is also one of the types of gender-based violence, right? So caste phase of violence, showing casteism, showing partiality according to caste or partiality with respect to caste. If you are from higher caste, then giving high position to you and high salary fixing to you based on your caste. So that is the caste phase of violence. Or if you are from lower caste, then you may be in a lower position even though you are having enough qualification for the corresponding position or corresponding post. Then also you are not assigned or allotted that position, and you are allotted low level position and you are allotted low salary. So these are all coming under caste phase of violence. The gender based violence, it may be happen to girl or boy or man or woman. Okay, so it is based on caste. Higher caste will be preferred in the society and lower caste will be given low priority in the society. That is according to the previous days, in the olden days. So the society follows these kind of things, because if they don't prefer higher caste people, then they may do some politics. They may make them to lose the authority. And lower caste people are generally not having much awareness and not having much contacts with people. So that is why they don't prefer them in higher positions or in giving high salaries. Okay. So this is considered as caste phase of violence. Any kind of violence based on caste. Based on caste, if your caste is high and you are getting very high emoluments, and if your caste is low and you are getting very low emoluments, and based on your caste you are getting some ration and all, and other castes are not getting ration and all. So based on caste, if they are giving any kind of immunities, and these all things will come under caste phase of violence. I hope you understood it, and you can elaborate it more by following the module lecture. Okay, so now you can answer this question well if it is asked in the examination, or you can face it confidently if it is asked in the interviews. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. Question number 9. Explain sexual violence and its role in the society towards gender inequality, and how can you prevent it. So sexual violence is one of the forms of gender based violence, GBV. So sexual violence is based on the sex, means male and female are the sex terms that you know. So male is violating female with respect to physical needs, or it may be vice versa. Female is torturing male for the physical needs. Okay, so in general it will be by male on the female in general, but it can happen reverse in the current society. Okay, so but all these kinds of sexual violence or any kind of gender based violence, this is also one of the forms of gender based violence. All these are happening due to lack of awareness on gender issues and lack of higher education properly, and lack of proper guidelines from the parenting guidelines from the childhood onwards. Okay, so all these things together cause various forms of gender based violence. So one of them is sexual violence. So anybody is torturing opposite gender, especially for physical needs, then it is considered as sexual violence. And how can you prevent it? Through proper awareness on gender issues. And second one, having well education and proper behavior in the society. Third one, having respect on the elders so that you will learn from them and you will follow them and you will not do any gender based violence. So that is how you can prevent it. And these kind of violence will enhance gender inequality. Okay. And if you have well awareness on the gender issues and well education in the society and behavior, then you can fight this gender inequality and you yourself can achieve gender equality. Okay. So that is how you can understand this concept. And you can go through this lecture in the module 4 for more clarity. And now you can answer this question well if it is asked in the examination, and you can face it confidently if it is asked in the interviews. Okay. Now let's move on to the next question. 10th one. Explain the concept of female genital mutilation. FGM. This is also one of the forms of gender based violence. Right? So how can you define it? Female genital mutilation. Okay? Female genital mutilation is nothing but the ritual removal of the vulva, means genital matter. The ritual removal or complete cutting of the vulva or genital matter from the female. So this is one of the kinds of gender based violence and it is called female genital mutilation. Whether partial removal or complete removal of the vulva means female genital matter. Okay. So that is considered as female genital mutilation and it is one of the forms of gender based violence. And for more details, you can go through the module lecture and I have briefed here what is GBV. Now I hope you understood it and you can answer well if it is asked in the examination and you can face confidently if it is asked in the interviews. Okay. So the references I followed were Gender Studies by Kadambari and Gender Sensitization by Rajalakshmi Kalyan. Okay. So thank you very much and all the very best.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.